a lot of school leaders have not been able to reposition the school and find that unique proposition. That's what this panel is going to be discussing. Of course, there are many other things to talk about, but it's going to be looking at how we can address these challenges, and provide a solution to this. This panel is, on this panel, we have certain people. Let me just tell you a few things about them. We have Yinka Ogunde. Yinka Ogunde is already here, the CEO at Edumat. Thank you so much for coming. We also have Bolaji Osime, the CEO of Global International School. Thank you for coming, Bolaji Osime. We also have Rotimi Eyitayo, the Creative Director at Team Masters. Thank you for being here with us. We have Ajala, the Executive Director of Nadela Schools. Thank you so much for coming. We have Okefunyin Ajayi, the MD at Busy Mind Center and Sound View Consulting. And I must tell you that with this panel, members, we know that we're in for a rich discuss. I'm honored to hand over the baton to the moderator for this session, and that's no other than the proprietress at the Posh Schools. I'm talking about Ronke Posh. Now I hand over the baton to her.
Okay, I think, thank you for coming, Mrs. Ajala, Mrs. Yinka Ogunde, Mr. Osime, my brother, Rotimi Eyitayo, thank you for coming. Please, let's have your video, Mrs. Yinka Ogunde and Mr. Ajala. We'd like to see your beautiful face. Thank you very much. I think Ronke Posh is connecting in a few seconds. Yes, that's the face. Please, we would like to, Ronke Posh, she was trying to do so many things because she's actually the moderator on this panel. I think she went off now, so she's going to connect. So maybe we should start with the introduction and then she's going to join us. I know she's going to attack me for jumping on our panel, but I don't think I have a choice than to start.
All right.
So please, let us take a turn. Ms. Bolaji Osime, please let us know more about you. So many people want to know you. Yesterday we had a chat and you told me something.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. This nice Saturday morning. Good morning. And Bolaji Osime, basically an educator, a lawyer turned educator. I am the owner of Global International Secondary School and College. I also am very active in the reform space. So I'm a co-founder of Education Reform Innovation Team. That's a group of about 160 reformers. And we're looking at how do we, sort out the issues in education, not just looking at the private sector, but looking at the public sector, because our focus is on the Nigerian child. It's to ensure that every single Nigerian child has the opportunity for a high education, a very high quality education in Nigeria. So that's my space right now, looking at working with government and also working in the private sector space and seeing how we can come together in a kind of partnership for the Nigerian child.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Ronke Posh is here. Please, let's see your video and then you take it off from here. I actually try to start with introduction session, so please, you can take it off from here. Sorry for taking your panel. Please, let's see your face and let's hear you speak. Thank you very much. Are you able to do this? Oh, yes, that's Ronke Posh. So over to you, please. Just take it off.
Adam Posh.
Yes. Your audio.
Edves.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, Edves. Good afternoon, Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo. Good afternoon, Miss Ajala. Good afternoon, Auntie Yinka. Good afternoon, Ms. Okefunyin Ajayi. Thanks for being here. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes,
we started with an introduction. So Mrs. Osime has introduced herself. So let's take a turn for other introduction, then you take it off from here. Thank you.
Awesome. I heard her on my Facebook, but I just joined Zoom. So, Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo, please, can you do your own introduction?
Please. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Rotimi Eyitayo, and I'm a creative director of Team Masters. I'm an educator, as well a trainer, a consultant, a coach, and a growth strategist. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You are being humble today. What happened? Usually your CV is like a they call it portmanteau. A huge big CV. You need like a truck to roll it out. So he's been very humble. He's a good friend of mine as well, and he's been very helpful to us at Posh School as well. So next on my screen is Mrs. Ajala. I believe you're in Abuja. Can you please introduce yourself, please?
Okay, my name is Ajala. I am an educator. I am an author. I am an educational coach and a passionate teacher.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I got one of your books a short while ago, and it has been very, very informative. So thank you for
very much.
Your wealth of experience and for sharing with us as well. And I also met you at one of the TOSE events. So
yes,
it's actually very nice to have you here.
That's a meeting point for great minds.
So next in line is Miss. I'm not going to call her Yinka yet. I called the band to introduce her. So I'm going to. Where's my band? Hurry up! The gong and the lights. Miss Ajayi, please can you do an introduction? I connected with you on LinkedIn as well, and I think Instagram.
Yes,
please can you introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Ajayi. I believe I'm here to change the world actually. And I do that via the education space, and I hope I'm loud enough. So yes, I'm a world changer. I believe very strongly in the importance of leadership. First of all, self-leadership, and then we can translate that into transformational leadership. I'm extremely excited to be here. Some of the things that I have in my portfolio is I'm an author, I'm an educational leader, and I'm very excited about that. I'm a teacher, coach, and a few other things, but it's just really exciting to be on this panel this morning. Thank you so much for the invitation.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. And last by no means the least, Auntie Yinka. Ogunde. Our TP mama that we're always shouting, oh, Auntie Yinka, this happened, that happened. Thank you for always being there for the educational sector. I don't know how you do it. Thank you.
Listening to you and he's giggling. Immediately as the name Ronke Posh, it will say,
good afternoon, sir.
He's waving his hand. Well, okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to be here on a day like this, especially with a topic that is actually very, very relevant to the time that we are. Every one of us, when I saw the names and everyone on board this morning, I said this is truly a family affair. Because all of us, we are all connected within the space. Almost every space here is part of the family. My name is Yinka Ogunde, and just like Rotimi, I wear quite a number of hats. But the only thing, I mean, when we were all talking, I said the only hat that I always want to wear all the time is somebody who sees a better future for this nation. That everything I do, everything it's all about how can we transform our nation. And I believe implicitly that if we're going to do that, the only way forward is through the education sector. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. Of course, I run EduMap, and I am also the founder of Concerned Parents and Educators Network. It's great to have my board member here, Bolaji Osime. She's also a trustee of Concerned Parents and Educators. And we have about 163,000 members in 21 states of the Federation. And we're just establishing our international division also with the US chapter and the UK chapter taking off right now. We're actually in the process of that. So we have very, very long-range plans.
So do you see why I've left her to the last?
Sorry? Hello?
Auntie Yinka, we won't finish today. We won't start the session.
Okay.
You see why I left you to the last? We won't finish this. We won't finish the session. We won't finish the session. So thank you for being here, everyone.
Let me want to begin. So let's go on.
Okay, so I have 2 questions each for everybody. And a lot of people are keen and very, very keen about this leadership session. So I have 2 questions each for everybody. And but I might interrupt. So please, if I interrupt you, it's not because I'm being rude, it's just because I'm trying to manage the time, as we all know. So my first question is to Mrs. Bolaji Osime. Drum roll. So I was in a meeting that you were on when this COVID thing started at the beginning, and you were in a meeting, and I was just blown away. I just said, I see sense. There's just too much. This man's carrying too much sense, because I was already frustrated. So you just gave me hope and light that day, and I was just like, I'm just stuffing my hat. And what exactly happened was that a lot of leaders, it appeared that you were one of the few that I noticed. I don't know all the leaders, but you were one of the few key leaders that I noticed that was very proactive when this COVID started. And you were following the trends clearly, because you wouldn't have made certain decisions that I heard if you weren't following the trends. This clearly helped your decision making to continue online. So your online schooling without much hesitation, because I heard you say at the meeting that you had already forged ahead. We have schools who are still believing God. You know, we are believing, Bible believing, Islam, in the name of Jesus, inshallah, kind of country. So we have schools that till now, they are still believing God for COVID to go away so they can go back into physical school. That is the situation that we have right now. We have big schools that are also don't know what to do. Schools that have thousands of children, and they're private schools, they don't know what to do because they're not tech savvy at all. So they are actually just twiddling their thumbs wherever they are. Can you shed some light, please, ma'am, on the significance of following trends and current affairs in education? Because clearly it has helped you in this decision making in the 21st century.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And that was really funny. You know, sometimes you wonder who is the audience when you're talking. You know, sometimes with this Zoom, you think you're talking to yourself, but apparently you're talking to the whole world sometimes. I actually now think to myself that I was born in the wrong generation, honestly. I was talking to my siblings yesterday that I should have been born in this generation. I just love what it said. They said to me, I'm enjoying this new normal. I said, I am enjoying it. This is what I was born for. You really have to have the creative juices in you to be able to do this. I'm telling you. So I really feel for schools, and I really would not even, you know, it's baby boomers. We were born in the generation of baby boomers where there was nothing like email. I'm actually on 2 webinars right now. There's a webinar I'm talking to children, a teenage webinar. I had to quickly come out of it. And I was saying to them that they're the generation Z. They were born with iPad in their hands. They were born with the internet in their hands. They were born, you know, but I was born in a generation that we were sending mail by post. I'm sure some of my people are here, so they know. Yinka, Mrs. Ajala, you know how we'll just go and post before the thing gets there 2 weeks to get to reply.
Don't tell them my age now. Me, I'm this generation. Oh,
I hear you. That's why I said we should have been born in this generation. I understand. But this generation is a digital native. We are digital immigrants. But what I found when this happened, sometimes, you know, I'm somebody who's very close. I mean, I don't take God for granted at all. I speak to him. He had been talking to me about this. In fact, I had a dream that there was going to be a pandemic. That's how I sort of knew things were going to happen. I actually had the dream, and I had epidemic, but not pandemic. So I was, for years and years, God has been talking to me about technology. And my own question was, why technology? I'm in education, blah, blah, blah. So long and short, he had made me ready. That's why it was easy. I've run online courses with Canada. We have a Canadian foundation program. We've run online courses for 10 years. We've been in that virtual space, yes, for 10 years. We're running online courses for our American diploma. So I was already talking to people all over the world, trying to get Nigerians international qualification. Right now, WAEC has not done exams, but my students who are with me have done the OSSD. They have the OSSD curriculum, and they can go online. So my own, as a leader, what I look at is that what are the options for the Nigerian child? I am not limiting the Nigerian child to Nigeria, just because of this kind of thing that has happened. So what are the options? How can the Nigerian child access the best education all over the world? So I've opened global. I've always, I'm a leader that changes. I I cannot stay with the old. In fact, this new normal is just the best thing for me, honestly. I can't stay because I've never been able to stay with the old. Every time my staff are always complaining that she's come with a new thing. She's always changing. I say, you people better come out of your old school and come into the new. Because we are looking after digital natives.
So the need to reinvent is there and being flexible, constant reinvention.
They don't even have a choice. I've pulled all of them into the new. They don't have a choice. Otherwise, they will go. So
what message do you have for those schools that are not doing anything now? They're still trusting God for the COVID to go away. And as a result, I'm not even talking about public schools now. I'm talking about schools that are private and have hundreds of children sitting at home because they don't even know how to engage parents right now.
The challenge they would have is that they might lose their students. They might, you see, it's such a new space. It's such a new space. My parents, I talk to my parents, I have Zoom meetings with them, Zoom meetings with my students. We're gonna have one tomorrow. We're getting feedback all the time. The online is the best thing that happened to the education sector in this country. It's the online that's the best thing that happened. Children are learning 21st century skills. They're collaborating. They're learning resources. We are getting the feedback all the time. So if they don't move with the new, we don't know when this epidemic is going to be over. They will lose their students. So they must, even if you are a digital analog baby boomer, please get young people around you now who are very savvy, and there are many of them. The job market is full of so many people now because a lot of people have lost their jobs. So look for people who are savvy in technology. I have a young man, Damilola, with me. He's absolutely the best. You know, he does everything. Oh, you have a Damilola. Damilolas are wonderful people. I'm so happy.
He's a tech guy.
A serious tech guy. So that's my advice, really. They must move into the new normal.
But we still have this group of people that also believe that some of them are using maybe WhatsApp or whatever the case may be, but they still believe that between now and when schools resume, they can't just wait. Let this COVID just go so that I can just jump this technology and go back to my classroom teaching. So can you shed some light on the significance of carrying over irrespective of when we go back to school?
You know, if you ask the Meji, I came on Edves about 2 or 3 years ago. So we knew, you know, yes, I came on Edves about 2 or 3 years ago. We got the learning management system. I have another learning management system right now that is connected to Microsoft. So the thing is that this is not going away. I'm an education reformer. We have 30 million out of school. The only way we're going to give access is through technology, offline or online. See what Lagos State has done. Everybody must learn. It's not going away. I certainly will not allow it to go away. Nigerian universities right now, none of the students are online because they did not prepare for this. Thank God for primary schools and secondary schools. This one, you are even saying that some of them in Nigerian university, they're not even online. So we in secondary schools have even tried. Those that have even rolled out online have even tried, even if it's WhatsApp, if it's Telegram, if it's this one, if it's that one, we've rolled out something. So I would just encourage that this is not going away. And if you're an educator on this platform, it must be blended learning from now on. The students are gaining too much.
Blended learning.
Blended learning. They are getting too much now.
Educators, have we heard? Please type your yeses in the Facebook comments. Type your yeses, share the video, please. Share the video. This is too important because Nigerians, we want to just believe God. And it's God that created technology. He's the one that gave the wisdom for technology. Please, please, please share the video. You are hearing it from the leaders now. It is important that we continue with blended learning. Education is going to be some kind of hybrid. Thank you so much. I'm still going to come back to you so that I don't leave the others left behind. So the next, I will have a gentleman, Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo. Okay. So Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo has been talking and preaching and consulting and strategizing, and he's just been everywhere. And anytime I just put on my social media, Instagram, he's there doing something, he's there doing something. On Sunday, we also do Investigate together, where we're trying to add some professionalism to teachers as well. Now, as a strategist, Mr. Eyitayo, and someone who has a vast experience in the educational sector and even banking, what advice do you have for the government and school leaders regarding the continuity of education for children now and post-COVID, knowing fully well that the knowledge gap between our children and the rest of the world is continuing to widen? So there's a knowledge gap, whether we like it or not, because our children, many of our children are sitting at home, and whilst children are sitting at home in other countries, they are online. So in addition, our delays to resume continues to affect the possibilities of our children competing globally. As we know, the world will not wait for our children. Are we raising global champions or we are raising local champions?
Thank you very much, Ronke, Posh. So you're saying I should advise leaders and government. I'll say that
please.
the first place to start with is that we need to come to a consensus on the motive behind our consistent or the existing closure of schools as resumption is actually being put on hold. We always say that learning never ends, but the COVID-19 season has come to disprove that that mantra, because in Nigeria, we've put a hold on that concept. So it seems like learning indeed has come to an end or has come to a pause, and which shows inconsistencies between our philosophy and model of education. So one of the things I think we need to do is to revisit the model or the purpose behind learning. This is a fact that we all cannot deny. Our education system has always been on a catch-up mode. We're trying to catch up with the rest of the world in terms of curriculum. We're trying to catch up with the rest of the world in terms of our looks, in terms of our classrooms, in terms of our field, in terms of our books, in terms of everything. And we find out that the blessings of the pandemic is that it has put everyone on an equilibrium where we all, in a way, can actually come to a point where we are no more necessarily needed to play catch up. So the advice I'll give to school leaders and government is that we should move away from playing catch up education to match up education. Match up education takes the context of education to the local dynamics of what we have. And if we cannot have the children go to school, I think the very first thing we need to do is to take the school to the children. And we can do this in terms of how it relates to our locality. So for example, there are many mediums and many methods that can be deployed. This is the best time to decentralize regulating education. Why? Because some of the best templates and models that we might be looking for will emerge when we give room for different stakeholders to find expression in intervention in education. So I believe that the first place to start is to revisit the motive. I think that yes, for safety, people might not be able to physically come to school, but the calendar is not affected by the virus. The timetable is not affected by the virus. So we need to understand that it's people that physically get affected by the virus. So while we can close the gate for physical safety, we shouldn't close the gate to intellectual continuity. That's the advice I would give. I don't know if that's able to answer the question.
Thank you so much. We've answered the question, and what was key for me was that we should take school to the children.
Yes, absolutely.
But we know that there are challenges in some areas. So there are even schools that are not necessarily public schools, but very, very low-cost schools, incredibly low-cost schools that they are really challenged right now. Do you have any tips for those particular kind of schools? How can they be supported so they may not be doing the Zoom or the WhatsApp in those areas? What can you say to those sort of schools?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm a believer of this principle that says success always leaves clues. So if you want to succeed at something, you just look for the clues. There are many things we've done in time past that we can revamp to the advantage of people like that. So for example, because like you said, we're a faith-based nation and a faith-based community. So I know that we have from time to time, preachers go into different corners, either early in the morning or evening, and then they do what they call town cry, morning cry, evening cry. We can substitute that in education. We can have math cry, we can have English cry, where teachers will go into a street or equidistant of 2 or 3 or 4 houses with a megaphone in their hands. And the children do not necessarily need to physically come out. All they just need to do is to stand at the balcony, stand in front of their porches, and then listen to a math cry. A teacher can teach comprehension verbally or set up a projector sponsored by the community. And then because they cannot have bandwidth to do Zoom classes, a projector can actually have an open air class in a particular area where you still observe social distancing, and then they are not clustered into a classroom where you have the concerns of infection. You can also have, I remember many years ago, there was a concept of video clubs. Video clubs, actually people go to video clubs to take cassettes, but this time around, we can have a dump where we have tab dumps, where tablets or devices can be given, and people can actually come and then exchange, or you can have a video kiosk, you can have a school kiosk. iRock TV does that. We can replicate that model. And in some cases, we can even translate our intervention beyond that. We can even do what some people are doing, where it's not just looking for zero-rise data, but we can actually have a situation where a particular Wi-Fi, and there's a router. I'm sure some of us are familiar with the drone. The average drone can fly 8 kilometers, right? And it doesn't need data to transmit the feeder on the images of the drone. That's the normal drone. Now that antenna, right? It transfers what they call it radio frequency without the use of data, which means if, for example, I'm in Mrs. Oshime's school and I have a class going on for a particular set of students, I can actually set up a drone, right, that can transmit to another community not too far away, right? And the class can be relayed via a visual device, which does not need internet. It's just mere radio frequency. So the creativity is there if we allow people to find expression and take education as an essential sector. The same way we are doing isolation centers, we can also put into task force where we have exceptional teachers who are mobile or who can be mobile. And you have all these e-motion graphics where you have them billboards on electronic media. We have IACs of schools packed. There are many buses in schools that are packed. These buses can have light boards on them, and live sessions, pre-recorded sessions, they can drive into community, and you have what you call community storm, area storm, street storm, resident storm. And that takes care of the gap, because education needs two things at this period. We need, number one, accessibility, and we need equity, because we cannot have equality. That's the truth about it. Equality is not something that, if you try to push on equality, is just a wild goose chase. But equity, meaning that to the barest minimum, people can still learn. People must learn. And the way we can do it is absolutely, we must move away from government alone, and government should open the doors.
You've shared so many tips. Thank you so much, because I know that there are government representatives here. You've shared so many tips, so it is possible for this to happen. Because I received a newsletter also from Canada, local schools that go near places like fast food restaurants for people that don't have Wi-Fi, where they can go and connect. They also have areas where children will come at a certain time, and people will just, children will go to school and pick up learning packs. So the risk of the infection is not there, but they are learning. So continuity is very important, and creativity at this time is very, very important. Thank you so much, Mr. Eyitayo. I'll still come back to you. So next in line is Mrs. Yinka Ogunde. Mrs. Yinka Ogunde, Auntie Yinka, I like to call her. So thank you so much, Mike. You need to unmute your mic and get ready for your question. I told you yesterday on Facebook that this whole book is your question, so I'll be reading it out.
You.
I'm sure you already know what your question will be about. When I think about you, I remember a friend of mine that we lost, God bless her, Tosin Bokno. We call her area mama. So it's like, I think as our area mama when it comes to issues like salaries and things like that. So you are in touch with many school leaders. Clearly, we know that. You are in touch with many school leaders. You are a mother hen to many of us, including local schools. We see you going to the markets, going to different places, and I'm like, hey, this woman, oh God, she's so strong, and it's quite inspiring. Thank you so much for doing all that you do. But it's no longer news that many schools have not paid their teachers. It's so bad that I've even heard that some have not paid since February. I've heard and even seen on Facebook where they are cursing school owners. Oh, those school owners, they will rot in hell. Those school owners, who these owners, WhatsApp group, school owners this. I'm leaving the education system. I'm going to sell gala now. I'm going to sell biscuits and sweets. Oh, school owners are bastards. School owners, they don't have any compassion. All sorts of things are happening all around the world. So they've not paid, and it has really, really resulted in a lot of teachers being disgruntled and staff. Some pay cuts have also happened. There are pay cuts. You see all sorts of things on social media where they'll say, oh, they're still charging parents 90%, and they gave us 50% salary. They didn't pay us this one and the other. What do you believe is the way forward with this solution? with this situation rather? And how can teachers be encouraged to stay in the profession? So what do you have to say with these people that are not paying, either because they don't want to pay and using COVID as an excuse, or they are unable to pay? What do you have to say to them? And for the teachers, either for valid or not valid reasons, what do you have to say to them? So you're speaking to 4 categories of people. School owners that can pay and are using COVID as an example, as an excuse. School owners that cannot pay. Teachers that are disgruntled, that have not been paid. Teachers that have their salary cut, whether it's for just or unjust reasons. So these are the category of people that are online right now. They're angry and they're waiting to hear about the salary issue.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Ronke. And I would like to look at it from various perspectives, just like you have outlined. One of the things that I know happens during crisis is that it has a way of bringing up so many hidden problems. It has a way of revealing situations that we never thought could happen. It has a way of enlarging even problems and challenges. That is what is happening to us in the sector now. We've always had quite a lot of problems between the school owner on one side and between the teachers on one side. We've always had a lot of problems in some schools between parents and the schools. We've always had all these issues just below the surface. Sometimes it will blow up. And this time of the pandemic, it actually blew up beyond anybody's imagination. Of course, some school owners cannot even afford to pay, even if they want to pay. Some school owners, as a result of schools that have been mismanaged for quite a long time, their finances, and it's not exactly the way it should be. So it has brought the problem of how our schools are being managed to the forefront. It has brought the knowledge of how teams are being led in our institutions. It has brought it to the forefront. During crises like this, especially if you're a very, very poor leader, you know, I always come back to the issue of leadership. If you're a very, very poor leader, this is the time of crisis that even your poor leadership skills is enlarged. If you've been a fairly good leader, you'll be able to just keep things on the keel and just somehow you won't rock the boat too much because you built up your influence over the years and your people can sort of see how real you are and how authentic you are. So many hidden issues in our institutions and in our sector has been exposed by this. So I believe that it's very, very important that for schools to seek better ways to manage their schools. Because if we've been doing things properly, we probably will not be in this huge crisis. I'm glad that Ms. Osime said it. She said for years, they actually envisaged a situation that maybe not as close to this, but something that is really going to happen and will change our thinking. And I believe that we'd always been talking about the future. The future came a bit earlier than all of us ever thought. And it exposed a lot of school leaders. That is what we are battling with. Now, what about the teachers? Because I believe that one of the things that you talk, another part of your question was actually on the issue of how do we ensure that they stay with the profession. This education sector has changed, and it has changed for life. That is the truth. We are going to have a lot of things happening. I was speaking to a group a few days ago, and because I got an email and I brought the banner up to them and I showed them that banner. All the online schools that are springing up now, unbelievable. And guess what? They have very, very good marketing skills. Because as they're following up with emails, they're hyping the teachers they are using. Names of teachers that probably you've never had before. They would describe that teacher as the best teacher that has ever come into Nigerian space to teach English. If I had not been in that sector, if I read that kind of communication and the way they describe that teacher, at least I will make inquiries about that school. And guess what again? They may be very affordable. They may be very affordable. Now, what is this telling us? That every one of us, we need to get very, very creative. If you're leading a team in school, how do I ensure that I maintain my team? What are the things that I need to do? I want to also stretch it a bit beyond that to our sector as a whole in terms of managing perception. What's the reason why we had all these things? What's the reason why some schools could not pay, some teachers begin abusing, and everybody is sort of shouting at each other? Because we have not been able to manage our public image very well for years. The perception that people have about teachers, they have played it out in this pandemic. And by the time we're getting through this, if we want people to stay in the education business, we have to develop a very, very good kind of strategic approach. What do I mean by that? A lot of people will see teachers as people who just beg for money all over the place. A lot of people will see teachers as a sort of hungry people all over the place. How do we change that? I'm glad that you're saying some of them, but I'm talking about the majority. When I'm talking in this sense, I'm doing it on a ratio. If we're dealing with 80% in a category, then that means that we have a problem. And of course, you know that I have a bit of statistics in this regard. It is bad. Even those schools that we perceive that they are even doing their good things with their teachers, but because of the person, sometimes we don't address the person of the teacher in terms of self-esteem, in terms of self-perception, in terms of the self-image that person has of himself or herself. Who needs to address that? And it boils down to the kind of value that the society places on the education business.
Auntie Yinka, so if I'm a teacher, so there was a lady that said she teaches, and her husband is a teacher, and they've both not been paid, and they have 3 kids. They are both angry, obviously, for valid reasons. What do you say to somebody like that? Should they just give up and go and find another business, which they already even have started already anyway? Or should they just have a little bit more hope because they really like education, but because of the salary? What would you have to say to somebody like that?
That's what I'm saying, that if a society does not hold certain professionals in high esteem, gradually, the good ones among them will begin to find their way out. Because passion is great, passion is good, but passion does not put food on the table. Passion that does not put food on the table becomes a hobby, that you are just excited about it and you just do it. It's a hobby for you. But here it is, husband and family and wife, they are both teachers. They need to put food on the table for their children. Yes. And the only realistic thing for them to do is either to find a way in that profession that will generate income, or else they will find their way out. This is where the interesting part comes in for me, because I believe that if you sit down well enough, you will see where you can generate income from the education profession. But that becomes as a result of your investment in yourself and in your mind. Because as a man thinketh, so is he.
So it's encouraged to have a side hustle just to get by. I'm not
talking in terms of side hustle. I don't want to reduce it to the level of side hustle or to the level of money or to the level of putting things on the table. Because I'm always very particular about the mind of a person. If I don't have 5K in my purse, but my mind is like the mind of a person who has 5 million in their account, I am thinking like that, and I'm seeing myself in that space. That's why I'm talking about the image of the teacher. That's why I'm talking of what is going on in their minds, what is going on behind that brain that we see. That's why you will see it's not a function. Sometimes this mind is not a function of the money in your account or the amount that you're being paid. There's something that I've been emphasizing for teachers for a while now. It's a simple word: dignity. Dignity, dignity, dignity. People are asking me why. I said, I want to teach teachers with dignity. I want them to feel that they're doing something worthwhile. The society appreciates them. Everything, that is what I want to be sending across to them. that simple word of dignity. So
I totally agree with you, Auntie Yinka, because you talked about dignity and the mind. I can remember a post that I did on CPE about the mind, that the change starts with the mind. So I totally agree with you in that respect. A lot of Nigerian teachers have been programmed, so there's been an installed program that needs to be uninstalled. So they need to learn and they need to unlearn and they need to relearn so that they can move forward. So have we heard it from our leader, Ms. Yinka Ogunde? Our mind, we need to work on our mind, and we also have to, even the public, we need to treat the profession with a lot of dignity. So very important. So Auntie Yinka, thank you so much for all that you have said. I'm not done, but I don't want to leave the others without saying anything. I'll let you catch some water. Thank you so much. So I'll go next to Ms. Okefunyin Ajayi. Thank you so much for being here. Let me find you on my screen so I can see you. Okay, good. So thank you so much for being here. Your excitement on LinkedIn, in fact, it was just a second to none. Thank you so much for being so awesome. So in terms of training, when this whole COVID thing started, one of the reasons why I fell in love with Miss Bolaji Osime was because I could just see myself in her. I live for this time. I live for technology. When this COVID happened, it was just training and training and retraining and implementing, and the things that I learned before, I was able to use it. So for us to move into, when we started the following term, we said we not call it third term, the virtual term, when we started it, it was seamless. We just piloted with the remaining 2 weeks and we just went into it. And that was because I'm a lifelong learner, training as a leader. So now, a lot of school owners have had to be trainers. A lot of them have had to be overnight trainers. Now, how do you train what you do not know? Number one. So I'm coming with the question. How do you train what you do not know? Because my inbox on Facebook particularly, because teachers like Facebook, is always full of lamentation. Okay, some people will have trained maybe 1 or 2 teachers to do the Google Class, to do whatever it is that they are doing. They will train them to use it. Like my school, for example, we use Edves, the Edves system. And we've had the Edves system long before the COVID. We've had it and we use it and it works. So the training that we just needed was, in all honesty, we were not using it to its full capability. It was more powerful than what we were using, but we had to get the Edves team on board and say, okay, this particular aspect, we are not really using it. Please remind us how to use it, and we were using it. Over and beyond that as well, we were using all sorts of apps that as well to deliver our content. Our training. So Edves has been very great. So collaboration with other people in terms of training. So I hope you are picking up what I'm saying, because my questions are usually quite convoluted. So I'm sure you have noticed. And that is because I want to touch on I want everybody to be happy today. Because the minute people knew I was coming to this conference, Ronke was coming, they started firing their questions to me. And even I've been getting notifications on here that people are still asking this. So I must make sure that my questions are robust enough and they are answeed. And all of you can pay your tithe and offering to me, because I'm really firing all the leaders here today.
Bring it on.
So in terms of training, in terms of collaboration with organizations like Edves that are very, very flexible, because you find that a number of people are using different learning management systems, and when it comes to support, they have challenges. If I call anybody, someone like me, I have access to Deji and Dari, which is very good. The minute I said, hey, Deji, hey, Dari, what's going on? I need support with this. They're like, oh, do you want us to bring a helicopter and just come straight to your school right now and just sort it out? You know, that kind of support. Now, those school leaders are training. They've become consultant, trainer, school head, you know, and there are so many issues and challenges and complaints at the moment. They're training on the go, they're learning new skills, and it's even causing confusion. Because you know when you have too many things in the mix, it's like cooking jollof rice or egusi and everything is like fish, onions, all the mix. It's just so messy and mashy. You know, what is your advice to schools in terms of their training approach? So if a school comes to you and said, I want to train, see, they're telling me to use X and Y and W, and I'm going crazy. I'm only one person trying to deliver this time. I can't really afford a lot of trainers and consultants to come at this time because the COVID has hit. I'm watching our budget to pay salary. The headache is just killing me. What are you going to tell us, please?
So the first thing you need to understand is, I always tell people, you need to start from the known. The same way as educators, we don't go and start teaching children what they cannot relate with. So don't go abstract at this time. You don't need it. So what is it that you know right now? And I would tell people, go back to your value chain. Your value chain as a school is what? Teaching and learning. That's your primary value chain. Your secondary value chain goes into where you begin to look at what? Your communication, your customer service, all of those areas. So you have primary and you have secondary. So I will tell you, first of all, analyze your value chain. Right now, where you need to optimize is what? Your teaching and learning is really critical at this time. And where you need to work on in terms of teaching. So if we look at teaching as an activity that leads into learning. So let's look at teaching. For teaching, you need to look at your staff and say, what do they need? Right now, what they need is the capacity to be able to be online and deliver a program that was like 90% offline to like right now almost 100% online. So what do they need to do? They need to understand how to teach online. One, how to make a video, how to utilize videos, how to ensure that there's engagement in the classroom, how to ensure that there's a back and forth, how to ensure that screen time is not too much for these children, how to bring the parents involved in their teaching. So those are skills, first of all, the teachers, I'm not going to go into all of them, it's not possible, not in this time. But right now, those are the skills the teachers need to optimize the value chain for teaching. And then let's look at learning. How do I ensure that my students are learning at this time? One thing I would say is integrate. As you said, there are some things that it might be difficult to do right now online. But when you integrate, what you can do is create depth in your learning, is to create a very active learning platform such that even if all I can do right now is math, English, and geography, I know that because I'm integrating, I will bring in history. I would ensure that my children understand that even in geography, I can look at the incline of a mountain, which is mathematics, but in a way, what is that? I'm looking at geography. So those are the two things I would tell the parents.
Cross-curricular links.
Cross-curricular links, yes. They need to integrate their entire learning models at this time in terms of teaching and learning. Second, you said something very important, that there's so many online schools going on right now. A secondary value chain, I would tell school leaders to look at is your marketing strategy. You are offline, you're not online. So don't be thinking about charging school fees for third term. Don't think like that. If you think like that, you have spoiled it. Because first of all, you are playing in the price market. As a school that is delivering such exceptional service, you really shouldn't be thinking about the price market. Think about your value. What value are you giving? And how can you create a marketing campaign that highlights that value and drags the people that you know need you to it? And I will also tell them something you can also look at is segmentation. So in terms of training that you need right now, look at these value chains and find somebody who can give them to you. One, teaching and learning, which is your core. And then let's look at what? Marketing. Marketing, of course, is your administrative processes. So your feedback, your marketing, actual going out and creating marketing campaigns that make your school look really attractive. And stop looking at just your parents. Look at the wider education community, the wider audience out there, because there's so many people out there that need this, who, as we have mentioned here, a lot of schools are not even in that space. So don't look at just your parents. Look beyond that. It's online. I can be in America and I'm in your school. It doesn't matter, but how can we develop synchronous and asynchronous models that actually feed the audience that we are relating to? So those are the two major things that I would look at. And then another thing I would like to highlight is collaboration. Look, you cannot do it all. It's impossible. You just die. I'm sorry, I don't know if I should have said that online, but
you just died. No, you're right, because I almost died. I almost died. I was sick for 3 days. This online thing. So you're right. So there's no pretending. It was because we had a short time to implement. So exactly. it's fulfilled.
Exactly.
Yes.
There's obviously an execution gap because, as I said, we were doing online. Okay, so for me, we've always done online. So I don't want to use myself as an example. But
not 100%. Were you doing 100%?
No. But at least it was easy for us to move from where we were. Yeah. So we had an online digital strategy. But a lot of people don't. Look for somebody who is doing it and doing it well. And find how you can leverage a relationship to make you better. That's what you need to be looking at this time. Not looking at wearing a cape and being Superman or Superwoman. Don't don't do it. Because first of all, you will lose your audience because you will give crappy service. And secondly, you have no accountability measures because you don't even know what you're doing. So those are the things that I would like to highlight that I feel are really hugely important.
And you have done a good job in highlighting it. And I hope that, well, I know it's not even a hope. I know that people are listening because this is very, very, very key. So you've talked about collaboration, you talked about segmentation, you've talked about value, and you've talked about starting where you are and what you have. So thank you so much for that. So next I have, and I'm still coming back for the 1 minute question. Next I have Miss Ajala. Ajala, if you don't mind unmuting your mic for us, please. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said before, I had connected with you before and got your book, which was really, really nice. So thank you so much. So yesterday I was in a webinar. So I had this webinar overdose. So I took a break from webinars. So because I was getting sick, because it does make you lethargic and tired, and it gets a bit too much. So I took a break. But yesterday I had registered for a webinar. I didn't even realize, and then you were there, and it was good to actually hear some of the things you said there. So I quickly tweaked my questions again so that you can repeat some of those things that you said there, because I think it will be useful for us. So I heard you talk about resumption plans in a webinar yesterday, and I know that people are still believing God for resumption, and we're all believing God. And when I say it's not that I don't believe in God, please don't think I'm more somebody. I do believe in God, but I believe that we need to get our horse ready, and the battle will win the battle. The God will win the battle for us, but we need to get our horses ready. So can you briefly share your thoughts about resumption plans, which are realistic for our terrain? So the reason why I'm saying realistic for our terrain was because I have had people approach me to come and buy those big machines and all sorts of things to come and use them. And I'm like, number one, how am I going to afford 5 million? And I might probably even need more than one. What kind of nonsense is that? Number one, if you're selling it, sorry, I'm not shooting a market, but I'm still offended by that. And then how am I going to afford that? Then number two, those machines do not pick up asymptomatic cases. So even if you wash me down from top to bottom, if I have a COVID in my system, I entered the school and I'm talking and my droplets fall down, people will still spread. So please don't bring the machines to school. And public school can definitely not afford it. So let's just remove that from the equation. The important thing is that for our terrain, that's the key word. Can you briefly share your thoughts about resumption plans are realistic for our terrain, considering public schools and their current state?
Thank you very much. Looking at the fact that we don't have specific dates for resumption, government is not coming out with anything. In fact, many of us are already postulating based on information we're getting. Like somebody shared, a principal from Ghana shared the Ghanaian timetable. And we saw when WAEC was starting in Ghana, we said, well, we're doing WAEC together with Ghana. So if Ghana already has a timetable, it means this is when we should be preparing towards, that kind of a thing. So there's no time, whatever. But the thing that schools should be looking at, one, we have developed teams. You can't work in isolation. Everybody has talked about the power of collaboration. And it is important to know that within your team, you'll be amazed at the amount of intelligence and innovation and creativity that is within the team you have. Many times we don't leverage on what we have. This is the time when the Josephs of our time, Joseph in the time of Egypt, that had the clarity of vision and direction to bring out the solutions that were needed. This is the time to fish out all the Josephs you have in your school and to set up teams. In setting up the teams, it's important to look at the various segments and what will work. There's a team that will be in charge, for example, of all the physical infrastructure that will take care of the hygiene and the safety of the child and everybody coming into the school. So you are looking at, is it a face mask? Can the children breathe with a face mask? Is it a shield that we're going to use? Because you also need to look at the cost. If you don't make things affordable for parents now, the anger and the frustration, you'll be amazed at the backlash you will get. So you need to begin to project what is reasonable for them and begin to share with them what you are doing to give a sense of comfort and confidence that this school is actually preparing and they know what they're doing. Recently we wrote to a regulatory agency to come and decontaminate the school. And we share the pictures with the parents. We don't know when we are resuming, but we have decontaminated. Ronke, Posh is like, yo, Lagos, they are doing free for you all over the place there. You are enjoying.
Yes, our school has been decontaminated, free of charge.
Free of charge, yes. We are also working towards that here. It was done free of charge. Actually, it was done free of charge for us too, actually. It's free. It's because of information gap. So it's important to have a team to state the kind of size of school you have, the kind of facilities you need to put in place in terms of the basic one of hand washing. And when we talk about hand washing, to also know even as simple as the type of composition of the soap you are going to use. I understand the school one time during Ebola used a particular soap that the school was making by itself, and all the children broke out in boils in their hands. So don't take anything for granted in setting up your resumption team. A resumption team needs to be set up, and they need to be subcategorized into those that can do the research to say, we are going to be cleaning the surfaces, the doorknobs, the chairs, the handles, the door of all this every 2 hours. And these are the kind of composition of chemical we're going to mix to make it happen. That will have no side effects, no skin reaction on the children, as detailed as that. Where the taps will be, where you are washing your hand, you are not collecting the water, because I've seen some contraptions where the water is being collected into a bottle and then you are breeding another hive of germs again somewhere. So those things need to be taken into consideration. The mask, the shield, the hand washing, the sanitizer, the cleaning timetable, the regime that needs to go into cleaning and everything. Begin to practice it, begin to have it in place. That is one aspect of it. Then you go to the aspect of your learning. Are teachers going to be comfortable with the number of how children come in with bags every day, handling the bags, marking books? Are the books going to have the COVID-19 germs in them and all kinds of a thing? So we're seeing the examples where in some countries, in the early years, they are having them in bubbles and having the children in bubbles, which means this is your space as an early year child teacher. And the children are kept in those spaces. They don't go beyond those spaces. And they have all their work materials there. And the teacher or teachers that are in charge, they are the only ones that will engage. Nobody else has contact with them, so that you are able to trace, to track if there's a need for any outbreak. Those kind of arrangement needs to begin to happen. If it is 1 meter you are taking, if it is 2 meters.
Sorry, ma, I need to quickly interrupt so I don't forget. Those arrangements, I'm worried about government schools that have, or even some private schools, to be honest, that have 100 children and above. Because even in the UK, they have not been able to get all the children to resume because there's nowhere to put some of the children. So what are we going to do with those?
Well, we are hoping
high population.
Yeah, we are hoping that if they are going to stagger resumption from what we're hearing, that maybe the terminal examination classes will start, which means SS3 will come and do their examinations and leave. JS3 will do the examinations and leave. Primary 6 will go and leave. Then there's space. So if that staggering happens, the space available will help us to do as much as we can. And hopefully by the time a new academic session starts, the curve would have been flattened to an extent that we'll be able to manage things. But
how about the preschoolers that will touch each other and hug each other?
That's what I'm saying.
Is there any point in coming to school? Because if I don't want to send my preschooler to school, if the teacher cannot hug her if she's sad. So what do we do?
Well, that is why they're doing this bubble thing now, where this is your bubble corner, this is your bubble corner, and it is taped around with tapes and everything you need, your coloring, your toys, which means schools have to invest in more of those things. Everybody has their cuddly bear, everybody has their small toy, everybody has their Lego. You are in your bubble corner to work. And the teachers or whoever, how many teachers per class are there, making sure that learning is happening. Those are the realities we have to face now in doing those things, so that if your numbers cannot contain that and cannot accommodate that, are you going to stagger learning? Are you going to have the first 3 hours, 8 to 11,
I guess it has its ups and downs, because there's some children that are very social. For someone like me, if I'm in one bubble, I will be eyeing somebody in another bubble. I want to play with that person in another bubble. So anyway, I'm going to come back to you.
Didn't you see that cartoon post of the mask? My mask is better than yours. Why are you touching you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I will go back to the top 1 minute questions, and then I'll take the questions on the panel due to the time. So I'm still going to come around to everybody. So right now, please, I have Mrs. Bolaji Osime again to answer in 1 minute for us this time around. So like I said, before. I love you so much because of your tech. This is what leaders should be doing. Another thing I heard at that webinar, you see that webinar, in fact, you just blew me away. Will you marry me? He was like,
I'm ready to adopt you right now.
So
I've already adopted Mr. Eyitayo, and then I'm going to adopt Okefunyin. Yeah.
Please adopt me. Adopt me. I need you in my life. I really do. So another thing that is a hot topic right now is that a lot of schools, they are doing whatever they can in terms of technology, even if it's not using all the fancy systems. They are trying their best. They are struggling. Teachers are not are demotivated already, and then they are going into the home, sending material to the parents, but they're not paying anything. They're not saying anything. Parents are not saying anything. The schools are not saying anything. I had a keyword that you used at that meeting, and I know you will use it again. I don't want to prompt you, but there was something that you did in your school, or some things that you did in your school that allowed for continuity. Please, can you share with us those schools that, because there are many, I know, I have them, I know them, that are just there. Nothing is happening right now because parents, you just be sending us your online lesson. We will be doing it. But the schools, they're like, if I go and tell them they should bring money now, they will cut off my head and take their children to another school, or they will say they're not doing again. Or, it's like there's some schools, they are scared. They can't even say money. And I know that is a hot topic. Please just speak to that for us, because it's just a bother for many.
I think the reality is that a lot of parents are going through a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like I was speaking, I'm trying to compile. I'm doing digital marketing now, going on Instagram to go and do all these live shows that, seriously reinventing myself, So we're compiling videos from parents and all of that. So I was speaking to a parent and I said, look, I need you to say something, blah, blah, blah. And immediately she jumped and said, oh, the school fees, I will pay now, I said, no, I didn't come after you for school fees. Sometimes, like I said, your spiritual strength through the times that were not difficult helps you when the difficult times come. So it's not as if our income has not gone down. We have parents who are owing us fees, but I hold on to the word of God at the end of the day that, he's going to provide for me and he's going to make a way. And the Lord has said to me over and over that I'm reinventing you as well. Like Ajayi said, the world is our oyster. I have a website that is strictly online. It's called Global College Online School. I've done a website. I spent the first 3 weeks of lockdown with my Pakistani web designer designing this website, strictly online, covering so many areas, because I saw the future. Like I said, I saw the future that this is the best thing that could have happened to anybody, frankly, to the education sector. Because now you're not only limited to Nigeria, you're limited, WAEC is West Africa. So you can, do exams for everybody if you know what you're doing. So my advice to schools that are worried, parents, you have to empathize now. You really have to empathize. And because parents have lost their jobs, the children themselves are panicking that whether their parents will be able to pay money. So
sorry to truncate, but how do you empathize with, because I've seen this is all around, how do you empathize with parents that have lost their jobs when they're setting WhatsApp groups and attacking the schools? There's this conflict in some schools that is happening.
Yes, I even saw some letters that went online that they said, I think that's not right. And parents really need to know that after COVID, schools will remain, teachers have to be there. One of the most important people right now are teachers. The kind of work my teachers are doing, I'm amazed. They're on 50% salary. Because I've said to them, it's the money that comes in that we can pay you. I cannot, and government has not helped schools. And we are still paying mortar and brick bills. We are still paying PHCN. We are still paying everything that we have been paying before. We are still paying. The only thing we're not paying is diesel. It's not much of diesel that we're using. And then, other things. So parents need to understand. The other thing that parents, I think there's a communication gap. There's also a lack of leadership in the education sector, particularly from government. If every country has rolled out a plan, and they had a plan, and they rolled it out, and everybody knows exactly what's happening. But we had a vacuum of leadership, and it's so difficult to fill that vacuum. We try to do it with ERIT and all of that. But what I would love to say to parents, if I had the audience of parents, is that they are missing big time. they are missing big time if they don't allow their children to go online. In the summer period, it said, statistics tells you that when students don't learn for the summer, they lose 25%. Every educator will tell you, Mrs. Ajala will tell you that when they come back to school by September, they have forgotten everything. Let alone you are now allowing them to be out of school for 4 months. Yet everything is forgotten. We are starting from scratch. And there's some parents that are so who have put their kids online. So what do you do about the ones that are away? In fact, my own students have finished their syllabus. They finished their syllabus because we're doing it. In fact, right now, WhatsApp, they're telling us all the classes that they have finished their syllabus. So what do you do with those ones that didn't join because of one thing or the other, because of money? So these are the challenges, and parents need to know that education is an investment. You have to invest in the life of your children. If anything, you are all buying food, you are buying Netflix, and guess what? Like Yinka said, or I think you mentioned, some parents do have the money, and they are using COVID to cover up. You know, they do have the money.
Okay. So thank you so much, ma'am. I have to interrupt. I'm sorry, ma'am. But the key things you have actually hit on the head. So I'm already getting pressure to round up shortly, but I still need to ask some questions. I have some questions from the panel as well. However, Mr. Eyitayo has already answered some of those questions in his when he did his own segment. So things like other ideas that schools can use in terms of this virtual learning. So can you help me ask Mr. Eyitayo what ideas of technology? So whoever asked that has to check the replay. In terms of interpersonal touch, in terms of virtual learning, I will give that to Ms. Okefunyin. But before that, Mr. Eyitayo, in 1 minute, and I mean 1 minute because I just have to round up. In 1 minute, can you speak to collaboration? In 1 minute, collaboration, because collaboration is what we are told to do. And we are in an environment where there's no trust, there's fraud, even lawyers are being bribed. Collaboration, your time starts now, 60, 59, 40, 58.
So don't count so that I can talk. All right, thank you very much. So when it comes to collaboration, I think we need to have an agreed agenda.
Okay.
Can't hear him.
Oh, is it better now?
Audio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Collaborate together. We must have an agenda, and the agenda must align. In other words, what we mean is that the common denominator for everyone to come together is an agenda. What is it that we want to achieve? And then the next thing is, how do we want to do that? And then we deploy actually our energies in line of our expertise or in line of coverage area. That's the way collaboration can actually be done. But then our guideline in collaborating is, number one, it must be selfless. Number two, it must be functional. Number three, it must be within a time frame. So if we're looking at, for example, that we want to transform education or want to transform a sector or want to transform the industry, we must put a time frame so that we know what is ahead of us, and then we'll roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, and get the work done. I believe we can transform education if we decide to stop playing catch up or decide to match up. And that way we can do that within the next 2 years max. We can actually come up with something that can put us as a model to be, to be studied.
Okay, thank you so much. You've heard it from Mr. Eyitayo. Thank you so much. Mrs. Yinka Ogunde, just in 1 minute, please. If you unmute your mic, please, madam. So I know that you are into professional development, and I know that you've been on courses, and you were telling me about how, your head just going through all these things. Please, can you speak to professional development in exactly 1 minute, 60 seconds? Because we know that some educators will not, even this COVID that we've been at home, I've seen posts where people have not even, and comments where people have not developed themselves in any way. They wait for conferences like this. Even school owners, they will wait for conferences like this to send their teachers for training and development, which amounts to maybe 3-4 hours in the whole year, or whatever the case may be. Can you just speak in 60 seconds the importance of the personal development for teachers?
Like I always say, professional development must start within you. You must make up your mind to fix yourself first before you fix any other sector or any other kind of relationship. And when the student is ready, the teacher will always appear. Sometimes a lot of them, when we force them to come for seminars, or they are not ready. So for the teachers that are truly ready, the world is ready for you. The world is your oyster. You can tap into so many things in this present dispensation, but it has to begin with you fixing yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma. God bless you. Thank you so much. So, Mrs. Ajayi, your own question, and that will wrap up in your 1 minute question is, tell us the 3 top IT skills you believe educators should have right now and why, in 60 seconds. Top 3 IT skills.
Top 3. Okay, so the first one, the first thing I would say first is videos. They need to learn how to do videos. Because, and why? Why, especially for the early years, you need to learn how to do videos because your children don't know these people on YouTube. They know you. So it's really important that you understand how to do videos. What are the techniques that you need to learn? That's the first thing that I would say. The second thing is, how do you actually manipulate research? So you need to learn how to do a lot of research online without wasting your time. Because if you type in a keyword, all sorts of things pop up. So you need to learn how to streamline your search so that you're not wasting valuable time sifting through all the things that come in. Top 3, my third skill would be actually how to present using a software online. So they need to go and learn how to use a software. Sometimes they don't even know, a lot of educators that I've either trained or worked with don't even know how to upload their own videos. They don't know how to teach children to upload their videos. So that makes it really difficult for them to create a robust learning community. So if you know how to do your own personal videos, if you know how to do research, and you actually know how to manipulate an online management system, then you are good to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You've heard it from her. So thank you, Mrs. Ajala. Your own question. What if you are to advise the government in 60 seconds about restructuring school for safety ahead of resumption? 3 pieces of advice, just 3, top 3.
1, collaborate with the private sector, because you don't have the answers alone.
We are hearing this collaboration again.
Yes,
we are hearing this collaboration
collaborate
again.
with the private sector because you don't.
I just pray that it's really entering people's heads.
So
collaboration again.
Yes, so that you don't. You don't have the answers alone. That's number 1. Number 2, set up. Because it is a health issue that is very critical that has affected other aspects of the economy. So it's important. We have asked in the FCT, can we have the number of the hospitals that schools can be calling? Where are the COVID centers that are key, support centers that we need to call if there's a critical issue for us? So we don't have that information. Number 3, is there a website where everybody can get regular information about what needs to be done concerning anything? Because there are a lot of fake posts that you see each time. I have to go and verify, is this post correct? Is this post not correct? So we need to know that this is where we need to go.
Authentic
this is
source.
Authentic source. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ma. I have one from the panel, from the audience, from you, please. With the advent of technology, how do we address the issue of behavioral aspects of learning, especially with children with short attention spans?
Is that to me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, we're advising that teaching should be in chunks. Break your teaching into manageable chunks, because the attention span of a child online can go beyond 10-15 minutes at times. And then give activities that are related to real life that they can partake in, and they can relate the teaching to that. Learning is even more deep that way and is more lasting. And so don't give activities that are on screen for like an hour or 30 minutes. No, break the work into chunks and make it interesting. Give a lot of activities and relate to real life.
The average chunk for each lesson, say for preschool and primary and secondary, can you just give us 2
minutes,
3 minutes?
10 minutes, 10 minutes for preschool, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, okay. I think.
Primary?
Primary, maybe 20, because they can spend more than that on a game. If the lesson is engaging, and the teacher is engaging and asking this and putting that, maybe 20 minutes, and then they go and do some activities. That's important.
Okay. And secondary?
40 minutes.
40 minutes, okay.
Yes, awesome. None should go to an hour.
None should go to an hour. Excellent. No. Thank you so much
for that. For any lesson.
Okay, I have one more for you. How do we bring interpersonal touch in virtual learning?
Well, the teachers themselves shouldn't use too many automated videos. A lot of them just import from the internet. So that's interpersonal touch, we're not getting it. People are complaining about that. The teachers themselves, which is why the 3 skills she has mentioned, they are very key for every teacher to learn, because you must engage with your children. They are familiar with you, And children like routine, they like stability, familiar faces that they've seen before. At times, you can't even pick the English you're speaking in those videos. You have to strain your ears, maybe it's a Chinese voice or it's an Indian voice or something. So that interpersonal thought can come virtually through the active participation of the teachers, recording presentable videos and presenting well. So those skills are quite very key for every teacher going forward.
Thank you so much, Ma. You've answered the questions very, very robustly. I'm one person that is in love with preschool. So those people that have preschool challenges can come and meet me. I will help you through your preschool. How we do it, they love it. They can't get enough of us when it comes to the preschool, because we chunk and we're very creative. And that's what you need. You need to chunk and you need to be creative. There's one last question for Mr. Eyitayo, and then we'll wrap up. One last question, which I just saw, and it's about, where was it? Network performance in the country. I know that you are not MTN or anything like that, but how do we just speak to people that we didn't answer? So I want to make sure we answer all the questions, and that's the last question.
Anything past
everything. But in terms of network connectivity, what do you have to say to that in 30 seconds?
Okay, one of the things we need to do is we must ensure that you have backups. We try to also explore the use of antennas and routers for radio frequencies. That will help you transmit a bit of low demanded data. So there are low radio frequencies that you can actually leverage on. I'm sure the likes of Edves could help also, because when we talk about technology, we should not always think about just online and gadgets. Technology is just simplified processes of making things happen. You know, so your table, your spoon is the technology to you. Your tree, your mango tree in your compound, in your environment, is the technology to you. So we must begin to find how we can localize equal distance routers using things like MTN Mast, all those database sites, you know, to be able to get things done.
Okay, and I know that at the panel session, thank you so much, Mr. Eyitayo. At the panel session, MTN said they had some packages and things that they're doing. Please visit their website so you can have a look. But in terms of connectivity, I think it's a growth phase also for the telcos at this point in time. It has been a huge honor to be on this panel. Huge, huge honor. I've had such an exciting and amazing time. This is what I live for. This is what I love to do. I loved it. I just enjoyed myself. My head is spinning. I'm recording it. I'm going to watch it because, you know, when you're speaking and you're active on a panel, you have to listen to it again. But I know that it's power-packed. In fact, if this was the only thing that people came for, they have done well. But guess what? We still have more of a treat for you. Edves has more of a treat